Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in my quaint little studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. Good to have you guys here as I am flying solo today. As often happens on Fridays, I give Jonathan Voiko, our technical producer, the day off, and it's Robert Meyer Burnett's birthday today. So he's doing birthday stuff with the fam. So it's just you and me and a whole bunch of movie news glee. See what I did there? I'm so artistic. Good to have you guys here. Thanks for joining me, guys. And listen, since I am running the show by myself, as often as I'll ask you guys to do, help me out and do let me know if there are any problems with the stream or anything like that, because again, I'm flying this thing solo. Hey, listen, we do have a bunch of stuff that we're going to talk about today, but I do want to start things off with a little bit of housekeeping, which is, of course, reminding you guys about the movie meetups. We are starting the movie meetups back up again. And just so you guys know, here we go. On Sunday, May 24th, that's coming up here pretty quick, we're going to be in Columbus, Ohio at the Marcus Crosswoods Cinema for a 6:30 p.m. screening of Mandalorian. It's all Mandalorian screenings on this one. Then on Tuesday, May 26th, we're going to be in the New York area at the Roosevelt Field 8 for a 7:20 screening of Mandalorian and Grogu. The very next night, we're going to be in the Boston area at the AMC Braintree 10 for a 7:15 screening of Mandalorian and Grogu. And then on Sunday, May 31st, we're going to be back home for me in the Toronto area at the Cineplex Cinemas Queensway and VIP for a screening of Mandalorian and Grogu. However, we do not know the exact time of that screening yet because they have not yet put the tickets on sale. So keep your eyes open for when we do announce what time we'll be doing that screening in Toronto, because like I said, they just haven't released those tickets yet. So keep you up to date on when those are happening. And listen, if you want to come to one of these, it's very simple. You just go to the movie's website and buy a ticket to that movie as normal. I'm going to be there. A bunch of other viewers of the John Campea Show are going to be there. And then after the movie's done, we'll just go outside and I'll hang around, say hi to everybody and take pictures, and it'll be fun. So hopefully you guys can come and join us for that. All right, guys. With all that down and out of the way, let's get into some stuff here, shall we? And we're going to start off with this. You know, Lanterns is coming. And I got to tell you, I myself am extremely excited for it. I personally think it looks really good. The whole promise of it being like, how did they describe it? Of True Detective, but in the DC universe. And then they played the first trailer for it, and I quite liked it. Now look, the show may end up being terrible. It might. And I have no problems with some of the criticisms I've heard about the trailer. But the one criticism that, oh my God, just screams, my God, you are reaching, is, I didn't see enough of the color green. That's your problem? I mean, like the tone of it doesn't feel like the way, or these aren't the Green Lanterns I was hoping they would use from the comics, or, you know, I was hoping to see something more fantastical than like Gritty Grounded, or for something like Green Lantern, which is I understand all those criticisms, but oh my God, I didn't see enough green. I don't get that. That it's called Green Lantern, so the world should be paid. I just did not understand that one. Again, that doesn't mean you need to think that the trailers look good, but that's just what, my God, that was a stretch. There are many other more legitimate things you could criticize about those Green Lantern trailers, but I didn't see enough green. Anyway, what's the point of Lanterns? Oh, it's this. Yes. Well, now we actually know a little bit more about the plot of the upcoming Green Lantern series. And they've actually just given away a bunch of it to kind of flesh out our understanding. This is what they said. This comes to us from the folks over at Gizmodo, who write the following. As for its story, showrunner Chris Mundy told Entertainment Weekly a different HBO show offered some major inspiration, True Detective, which we did know that part already, right? Specifically its first season. Like that series, Lantern will explore its characters across two different time periods. In 2016, we'll see Hal Jordan, played by Chandler, investigating a shooting that he believes is alien related, a perspective not shared by the skeptical local sheriff played by Kelly MacDonald. At that time, John Stewart, played by Pierre, is a new recruit who Hal is pressed into working with. Then, in sequences that take place a decade later, so in modern times, the case will expand to include something else, according to Mundy. Okay. Lanterns will not be the first series that decides to try to tell its story across two different time periods, right? We've seen that happen before. I mean, not a ton, but we've seen it happen before where there's something, you know what did it and did it really well? The Highlander series. Remember the Highlander series? So what the Highlander series would often do, what its kind of formula was that Duncan MacLeod has something going on today. He encounters some situation today. And then what would happen is for the rest of that episode, they would show how something that is happening today is also connected to something that happened to him 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, whatever. And then we would then spend the episode seeing in parallel those two stories play out as things that happened in the past start to give some light and color to things that are happening in the present and so on. Also, another series that did that obviously was True Detective. They pointed that out there as well. So this is what's interesting to me about this is, are they saying that, you know, when Hal Jordan and John Stewart first started working together was 10 years ago? Are they still working together today? Or is Kyle Chandler's character dead today? Like, is Hal Jordan dead today? Was everything we saw in the trailer from 10 years earlier? Or was it a mix of the two? I do have to say, I remember saying to Rob once, that is it just me, or does Chandler look younger in one shot in the trailer than he does in another shot in the trailer? That might have had something to do with it. That might have had absolutely nothing to do with it. But yeah, so because remember this too. In Man of Tomorrow, the upcoming Superman sequel, they've already announced that Pierre is going to be in that movie. But they haven't said Kyle Chandler is going to be in that movie. So a lot of people have already started speculating that Hal Jordan is not making it out of the Lantern series. I really hope he does, because Hal Jordan is my definitive Green Lantern character. Like, yeah, you got Guy Gardner and you got Kyle Rayner and you've got John Stewart and you've got others. But for me, the definitive Green Lantern is Hal Jordan. For some people, a lot of people, the definitive Hal Jordan or the definitive Green Lantern is John Stewart, which is totally understandable too. So I kind of hope he doesn't die, but hey, whatever. I want them to do whatever is best for the story. Now let's get back to this. With them now saying that this is going to be probably a murder mystery that is then directly tied to something that happened 10 years previous. Now we truly get why they've always said from the beginning that this was going to be a True Detective kind of series. And yeah, I just think, man, look, when they first announced they were going to be doing a Lanterns for TV, I wasn't overly enthusiastic, I admit. But I really do like that they've been kind of aiming for something unexpected. They've been going out of the box, because obviously I think I and a lot of people, when they say you're doing something Green Lantern, you're thinking more fantastical, right? Even if it's not set intergalactically, even if it is set in Earth, you're expecting something a lot more fantastical. And this one truly does feel a lot more gritty, grounded, whatever. So I'm excited, man. And I like this update. I really do. And they were expecting something more green. That's big fail. Make it more green. Anyway, so yeah, we'll see. Look, again, this show might end up being great. like True Detective season 1, or it may end up being absolutely awful. Who knows? But I do like the sounds of the story. I do like this having 2 separate timelines with interconnected cases and seeing how these guys play it through. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Do you like the sounds of like a storyline that takes place in 2 different time frames? And here's the bigger question. Do you think most of the stuff that we saw in the initial trailer was set in 2016, and that maybe by the time we come up to 2026, that part of the story, Hal Jordan's already dead? Like maybe the new case is Hal Jordan's been murdered, and, you know, Jon Stewart's trying to figure out how it ties into the 2016 case. Whatever you guys think they're going to do with it, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's go on and talk about this, shall we? Well, apparently they are doing an all-female version of the Expendables. We heard them talk about that for a bunch of years, but now it looks like they're actually going to be doing it. As according to the Hollywood Reporter, the Expendabelles, an all-female action spinoff of the Expendables, firing up again. Eclectic Pictures and Hollywood Ventures Group unveiled the news at the Cannes Film Festival as a part of the new feature slate of globally commercial films. And by the way, they're also doing it in partnership with Lionsgate. And Lionsgate, of course, now owns the rights to the Expendables. And so we are getting the Expendabelles. The Expendabelles. All right. Here's my thoughts on this. First of all, it should kind of be pointed out that the Expendables has never been a big franchise. Like if we go over and take a peek at the box office results of the Expendables, the first one made a respectable $247 million. And because that movie was pretty good, the second one made even more money, made $315 million. I think actually for me, the second one was my favorite of the bunch. Anyway, then we get into the Expendables 3, which was not so great, but it had its moments. Didn't make as much money, 215. And then they came back and they did the Expendables 4. And yes, that's not a typo, ladies and gentlemen. Expendables 4 made $38 million. There were some extenuating circumstances, not to say otherwise. The point of this whole thing is that Expendables has never been like a massive franchise, right? Hey, like again, 315 million, absolutely respectable. These weren't ridiculously expensive movies to make either. So I have to start off with the question of why do another Expendables movie at all? Male or female? Male or female? Because that last one, Expendables 4, and you remember, I'm a fan of Sylvester Stallone. I love Jason Statham. I walked out of Expendables 4. I think it was only, I lost track. I'm thinking it was like only the 6th or 7th movie in my life that I walked out of. It was absolute gutter trash. So, and it was terrible, and nobody went to go see it, and nobody cares. So the first question, despite the fact that you've got like all these legends. Listen, it was great seeing Antonio Banderas in there. It's great seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger and Stallone. And of course you had, Jean-Claude Van Damme pop up. You had Mel Gibson in there. You had, everybody popped up. That was fun. That's a fun idea, but it feels like it kind of ran out of steam. So now we're doing the Expendabelles. Okay, here's my thought. Oh yeah, how did I forget that one, Marcus? Why? Chuck Norris appeared in there as well at the same time. That was always cool to see when he would pop up. Here's my thought about Expendabelles. Why? Now, you would be forgiven if you hear me going, why are you doing this? If you instantly jump to the assumption that the reason I'm questioning the sanity of doing this was strictly because female action. I love a great female action thing. Like whether you're going all the way back to Ripley and Aliens or whether you're talking about Ballerina, I love great female action films when they're done well. I think they're great, and I think you can absolutely make great action films with female characters in the lead. 100%. But my question is this. Why not make that movie without connecting it to the Expendables universe? A universe that most people don't care about anymore, that the last couple of ones decreased in their box office returns, and the last one completely flopped. Again, acknowledging there are some extenuating circumstances, but bottom line is absolutely completely flopped. I could understand if you had something like, okay, let's go with Avengers, right? Let's say Avengers. And what was that thing they called it in Avengers Endgame when during the big final battle of the portals, the cameras cut and all of a sudden all the female characters are there? What did they call that? A-Force? Is that what they called it? Was it A-Force, or somebody said it was I don't think it was A-Team. Yeah, tall guy is saying it was A-Force. Yeah. Okay, so it was A-Force. All right. I could get that because Avengers is this massive, popular, successful IP. And if you wanted to try something like with an all-female team, connecting it to this massive, successful IP makes sense. If you want to do an all-female led action film, why would you want to connect it to Expendables? I would propose to you, and I know this sounds counterintuitive, but I would propose that doing an all-female military-like female action film without connecting it to just making it a brand new IP has a much better chance of success than trying to connect it to the Expendables. And oh my God, can we talk for a second how absolutely terrible that title is? Expendabelles? Expendabelles. I already have zero interest. Like a title. Listen, I agree. A title is just a title. The title does not mean the movie's going to be good. The title does not mean the movie's going to be bad. A title is just a title. But it is a part of your marketing. Some would argue might be the most important part of your marketing is the title. Expendabelles. And listen, Michael in the live chat just made a really good point. They make it immediately, it sounds like a parody. Immediately, it sounds like a parody, right? You call this movie the Expendabelles, I'm already out. I'm not even making the choice to be out. I'm just telling you, I can already tell my brain checked out. It's stupid. Now, again, there are some people who are like, I just can't ever believe that a girl can be a lead in an action film. Well, then you're just stupid. I got nothing else to say to you other than you're stupid. Yes, you can. But it has to be done a certain way. Because where I will agree is when you have female characters in like action films and they try to make the action they do just the same things a male character would do. It just so happens to be that she's a woman. And sometimes that creates a disconnect. You lose what Rob would call verisimilitude. Where it works great, and I'm going to bring up Ballerina again. Why more of you guys didn't go to see Ballerina is completely beyond me. Ballerina was a really good flick, and it flopped, and it shouldn't have flopped because it was fun as hell. Anyway, what they should have done was, if you had seen Ballerina, what they made sure they did in Ballerina was they highlighted in the movie itself, hey, you will never be as physically big as the people you're going to be fighting. You will never be as heavy and have the weight that other people you're fighting are going to have. And you're never going to have the same level of physical strength that the people you're fighting are going to have. Therefore, there's a scene in the movie where they lay all this out for Ana de Armas. You are going to have to fight in such a way that plays to your strengths, not to men's strengths. Because when you're fighting guys, they're going to be bigger, they're going to be heavier, they're going to be physically stronger than you. So you have to fight differently. And then when you watched Ballerina, whenever there were these fight sequences, it all followed that Bible of rules, right? You could tell when Ana de Armas was fighting these bigger, larger, stronger guys, she never tried to outstrength them. Her body weight was a hindrance, right? And so the way she would fight was to fight around those things. And oh my God, the results were fantastic. Like seriously, and it never once felt even slightly unbelievable that this smaller girl was kicking the ass of this larger guy because they approached it differently. They didn't just go, well, choreograph it like two guys in a fight scene. It just happens that one's a girl. That can break believability, but the way they approach that, you know what? You know who else did it great like that? Jackie Chan. If you go back and watch Jackie Chan's great movies and his choreography, whenever he was fighting a bigger, stronger guy, they never made it as if Jackie Chan could outmuscle him or outweight him or outleverage him. They always had Jackie Chan fighting larger guys as if he was a smaller guy, but doing everything better, right? Jackie Chan was a great example of that. Shokasagi was a great example of that back in the old ninja movies. Jet Li, even to a part, is a great example of that. And so they applied stuff like that to Ana de Armas in Ballerina, and it worked. You make sure you approach a female Expendables project with that same strict mentality that, keep in mind, these are people who are going to be physically smaller for the most part, physically lighter for the most part, and not physically as strong for the most part as some of the people are going to be engaging. And if you find a way to then execute action sequences the way they did in Ballerina, it can work. But again, I just can't get by the Expendabelles. And why would you even try to attach it to a now failed franchise? I'm not saying the Expendables overall was a failure. It made some money, but I'm saying it is now in a state of failure. Why would you want to connect to that? I just don't understand the logic. You could have a good movie here. You could. I would just recommend disconnect it from the Expendables. And if you don't, for God's sakes, change it from the Expendabelles, because you're already making me not taking the movie seriously. Anyway, guys, what do you think about this? They are apparently revitalizing a all-female Expendables. I'm all for an all-female team action film, but why connect it to the Expendables? And why call it the Expendabelles? Anyway, whatever you guys think about all this, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? You know, if you want to go back a few years, Will Smith was kind of like at the top of the world in many ways. He was nominated for an Academy Award. He was still Big Willie. The days of him being the biggest box office draw in the world may be gone, but people still love seeing Will Smith. And then the damn slap happened. And instantly, even people who were big Will Smith fans like me were like, you maybe need to go away for a little while. And sure enough, he did. And let's be honest, I don't think the slap killed his career, but it ain't the same. I think we can all acknowledge that. Will Smith's career right now, I mean, he's only made one movie, I think, in the past 4 years. And that was Bad Boys. And we'll talk about that in a second. Well, Will Smith is now back in the news again. For a good reason. Apparently, he has now gotten attached to a brand new action thriller film called Supermax, being lined up, and Amazon has just bought the rights to it for 70, that's a 7 with a 0 after it, $70 million. The story reads, this is from Deadline. Here's a big one. Will Smith has just committed to star in David Gordon Green's directed action thriller Supermax about two FBI agents investigating a murder that's taken place in the world's most secure prison. By the way, guys, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't the old Green Lantern series that they were going to do? No, it was a Green Arrow series. They were going to do a Green Arrow series that they were going to call Supermax, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway. In a deal pegged in the $70 million range, Amazon MGM Studios closed a pact this week for worldwide rights to the Miramax project, which will mark Smith's first non-franchise movie in recent years. We understand, and this is the key part here, get this. We understand this will be a streaming play and not a theatrical, not a theatrical one. Super slaps. Oh, well said, Marcus. Well said. All right. Couple of different thoughts here. First of all, I'm going to say, I like the sound of this. This is an interest. That's a good elevator pitch. Say, okay, what's the idea for it? A murder takes place inside a Supermax prison, and these two FBI agents have to go into the prison to try to solve the murder that happened inside of there. You know what? Right away, right off the top, that's a good sounding premise. I like the sounds of it. That sounds pretty damn good to me. It really does. You add Will Smith to it as an FBI agent, not a MIB agent. Those are three different letters. Wouldn't that be funny if we go to watch Supermax, if we turn on Supermax and it's Will Smith, but as instead of an FBI agent, he's an MIB agent. Okay. There's a crossover we've all been waiting for. So it's a cool sounding story. You add Will Smith to this role. I like it. He's a really good actor. Let's not lose focus of that beyond the slap, Will Smith is an Academy Award winning actor, a multi-time Academy Award nominated actor. He's really good. He's great. So this sounds like a good project to me. But what I can't get away from is, again, this part, this highlighted part here. We understand this one will be a streaming play and not a theatrical release. Why? And here's what I think the answer is. And I might be wrong, but this is what I think the answer is. The only film Will Smith has done the last 4 years was Bad Boys Ride or Die, right? And if we take a look at the box office results, so the first Bad Boys made 141. Then the second one came out, made a huge, nearly doubled its box office, 273. Then Bad Boys for Life came out, which, listen, I will tell you right now, Bad Boys for Life is my favorite Bad Boys film. I had a great time with it. I really, really enjoyed Bad Boys for Life. Then the slap happened. Bad Boys Ride or Die comes out, and it makes less. For the first time in the Bad Boys franchise history, not only did the new installment not make a massive gain in box office, but actually came down in box office. Didn't come down a ton. But remember, right up to Bad Boys Ride or Die, the Bad Boys films were like almost doubling, like getting like 60, 70, 80, 90% more than what the previous film had. And then Bad Boys Ride or Die comes out, makes $398 million. I think there's two reasons that one made less money. First reason is because, well, it just wasn't as good as Bad Boys for Life. I don't think it had the rewatchability of it as Bad Boys for Life did. So I think that's one reason. But I think we're going to be really naive if we also don't acknowledge that the slap probably had something to do with it too. So why does Amazon spend $70 million to pick up a new Will Smith actioneer if they're not going to put it in theaters? Here's my guess, and you guys are more than welcome to agree or disagree with it. I think they still don't feel the general movie-going audience is ready to go back to a Will Smith movie. I just have a feeling that while Amazon likes being in the Will Smith business, and they spent $70 million. Why would you spend $70 million for something you're not going to put in theaters? But they spent $70 million. They've had success with Will Smith, and they want to be in the Will Smith business. So why on earth do you not put this thing in theaters where it can make its most money and then put it on Amazon streaming afterwards? Honestly, I think the only thing that's really a practical and viable option is the fact that they just simply don't feel that Will Smith is ready to be on the big screen again. Now, they may be right, they may be wrong, but I can totally see where they're coming from. Like maybe the play here is this. Maybe Amazon's thinking, look, we still believe in Will Smith and we want to be in this long term. We want to be in the long game with Will Smith. So let's get him in this movie. Let's put it on Prime Video and hopefully it's a big hit and it continues the rehabilitation of Will Smith's image, and then put it on the big screen. Maybe that's their philosophy. Maybe that's the way they're thinking. Here's my thoughts on it. And I've kind of expressed this before, so some of you have heard me say this. Maybe some of you haven't. Some of you will agree with me. Some of you will disagree, and that's fine. The way I look at it with Will Smith is, number one, he is a tremendous actor. Number two, he can elevate movies that he's a part of. Number three, he absolutely damaged his legacy with the stupid shit he pulled at the Oscars. But number four, how many years has it been now since the slap? What's it been? 4 years? 5? I've lost track. I don't know. 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? I don't know. It's been years since it's happened. He's paid a price. Like, can we not all agree that he has paid a heavy, heavy price? His legacy, his reputation, he has lost tens of millions of dollars in projects and sponsorships and all that kind of stuff. He's become globally, publicly humiliated. I mean, over a slap. Meanwhile, you've got a president of the United States who's in the Epstein files almost as much as Epstein is in the Epstein files. But my point here is that I hated what Will Smith did, and I think there should have been consequences for it. But there's been consequences. There's been heavy consequences. There have been expensive consequences. There's been lifelong and even afterwards, his legacy consequences. How much is he supposed to pay? Now, that doesn't mean that it's Amazon's job to put him on the big screen. That doesn't mean it's Universal's job to put him on the big screen. That doesn't mean it's Disney's job to put him on the big screen. Not at all. If Amazon thinks, and this is me speculating, if Amazon thinks that putting him on the big screen right now is not a smart business move, then they are totally, I totally get it. I totally get it. I 100% understand if they're just from a business point of view are thinking it's not a good business move to put him on the big screen right now, then it's not their responsibility to give Will Smith another chance on the big screen. If they can get him into some streaming stuff, if they can make it good and make it quality, then maybe in a year or 2 years after Supermax comes out, maybe they'll then believe, okay, Will Smith is ready to be on the big screen again. We think audiences will come back to Will Smith movies again. If they don't think that's the case right now, fair enough. Totally fair enough. But if they get to the point that they feel like, okay, now we've got him back to the point that we can put him up there, then sure. Sure. Now, there are some morons out there, like KPB Video. Are you downplaying assault? You stupid fucker. You've heard, I have gone on for years about how stupid what Will Smith did, and there needed to be consequences and there needed to be penalties. But there have been consequences and there have been penalties. He has suffered more for a slap that there should have been consequences for, but he has suffered more consequences for a slap than most people have ever suffered for doing things 3 or 4 times worse. And I'm sorry, but you're just a moron if you don't recognize that. He has suffered far more consequences, and I'm not saying he didn't deserve it, but he suffered them. He has now suffered the consequences. Far more consequences than the vast majority of people who have done things much, much worse. Much, much worse. He didn't slap Chris Rock, then pick him up, slam him to the ground, then start kicking him in the head, and then had to have 50 security guards rush in and pull him off Chris Rock. Then we'd be talking about something different. He slapped a guy that he shouldn't have done, and he should have paid a price. And he's paid a price. He's paid a price far bigger than you'll ever pay for the things you've done or that I've done. Global humiliation. He lost out a ton of movie projects. He lost out on tens of millions of dollars. His legacy has become tarnished for a slap. And he deserves all the consequences he got. But at some point, we have to say he's paid his price. And now it's time to let him move on. That doesn't mean you need to go out and see his movies anymore. It doesn't mean I need to go out and see his movies anymore. But should we not at some point go, okay, it's about time that the guy is now allowed to go out and continue his career so people who are still interested in him want to go out and see him. And if I don't want to go see him, that's my choice. And if you don't want to go see him, that's your choice as well. But yes, if you think anything that I just said was downplaying assault, then you're so stupid. There's nothing I can say that can help you. So I'll just kind of leave it at that. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Amazon just spent $70 million. $70 million for a Will Smith film about a murder in a Supermax prison, but they're not going to put it in theaters. My theory is because they believe the audience isn't ready to go back and see him on the big screen yet. And if that's their thought process, I think that's fair enough. Do you think maybe a really good Supermax movie can help rehabilitate his image? I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. Listen, we've got a few more things that we need to talk about here, including, it sounds like something that I never thought would happen might be happening. Peter Jackson may actually be directing a Lord of the Rings universe Silmarillion film. I've never thought that they would do it, but they might. Also, the first reactions for Mandalorian and Grogu have now come out. They're mostly pretty good, but they're also a bit mixed. We're going to talk about those in just a minute. But before we do, we're going to take a second and thank a couple of sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at BetterHelp and Hims. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, BetterHelp. You know, guys, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I think it's a really important reminder that no matter what's going on in our lives, we don't have to go through it alone. And honestly, I think a lot of us carry around stress, anxiety, pressure, or uncertainty without ever really talking about it. Whether it's work, family, finances, or just trying to keep up with life, sometimes it can feel overwhelming. You guys know that one of the things I've learned is that nobody has all the answers on their own. Sometimes just having someone to talk to, someone who can listen and help you sort through what's on your mind, mind can make a huge difference. And therapy can be a really valuable tool for that. BetterHelp has over 30,000 licensed therapists and has helped more than 6 million people worldwide. They'll match you with a therapist based on a short questionnaire, and if you ever feel like it's not the right fit, you can switch to another therapist at any time. You don't have to be on this journey alone. Find support and have someone with you in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/Campea. That's better, HELP.com/Campea. Guys, we want to take a second and thank a sponsor of today's video, Hims. You know, one of the hardest things about trying to lose weight is just figuring out what actually works, because we've seen them all. There are a million trends, diets, and gimmicks out there, and honestly, it can get overwhelming. And that's why weight loss by Hims really stands out. Hims now offers access to an affordable range of FDA-approved GLP-1 medications, including the Wegovy pill at its lowest price ever, and the Wegovy pen. With Wegovy at Hims, lose up to 20% or more of your body weight when combined with diet and exercise. It helps you regulate your appetite and eat less, so success is within reach. Plus, Wegovy is the first ever and only GLP-1 available in a pill for weight loss, so there are no needles needed. And the process is extremely convenient. Everything happens online. You connect with a licensed provider who determines if treatment is right for you, and if prescribed, your medication gets delivered right to your door. No insurance necessary. Ready to reach your goals? Visit hims.com/Campea to get a personalized, affordable plan that gets you. That's HIMS.com/Campea. hims.com/Campea. Based on advertised cash price for 30-day supply of medication only. Membership required, fee not included, and billed separately. Weight loss by Hims is not available in all 50 states. Wegovy is the registered trademark of Novo Nordisk A.S. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, Wegovy clinical study information, and restrictions, visit hims.com. And thank you to our friends at BetterHelp and Hims for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. Now, we've known that there's a couple of Lord of the Rings projects in the works, right? Like, we've got the one coming from Andy Serkis for The Hunt for Gollum, which I should say Peter Jackson himself is producing, and him and his writing partners helped write it and all that kind of stuff. That's coming. Then we also heard that Peter Jackson is also producing another Lord of the Rings films that Stephen Colbert, along with his son and Peter Jackson's writing partner, have written, and the studio's now in the process of making that. But you know, one of the things that a lot of people have always asked for, and I've never understood why, is a lot of people have asked for a movie version of the Silmarillion. And one of the things that I've said for a long time is that there's no point in doing that because it is simply unfilmable. It's simply unfilmable. Like, if you want, take a few aspects from Silmarillion and put it into one thing or put it into another. But you're talking about the whole mythos of the creation of the universe that spans eons. And like everything from Eru to the Valar and the Maiar and the trees and the Cimmerals and all that. Like, there's just, it's so much. It's really more abstract than anything else. And I've always thought that it is a book you simply can't film. Or if you do, it's going to be heavily, heavily, heavily adapted. But like it showed here, this from Polygon, Peter Jackson says the Lord of the Rings movies based on the Silmarillion are finally possible, and we could finally get the adaptation of J.R.R. Tolkien's other works. It goes on to say this. Director Peter Jackson has spent decades bringing J.R.R. Tolkien's epic fantasy novels such as Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit to the silver screen. Jackson's previous venture into Middle-earth, The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, was widely considered his final trip. Remember, Guillermo del Toro was supposed to direct those. He's involved in Andy Serkis's upcoming The Hunt for Gollum, but only as a producer. However, in an interview with Deadline, Jackson now says he's circling another Lord of the Rings movie based on a story by J.R.R. Tolkien that's never been adapted before. referencing Christopher Tolkien's J.R.R. son, who both oversaw the editing and publication of works such as The Silmarillion and The Unfinished Tales, as well as acted as the guardian of his father's work. Jackson told Deadline that there is a lot more Tolkien writing that would actually make great movies. Now, one of the interesting things about the article is that they pointed out Christopher Tolkien hated Peter Jackson's movies. Hated them. I think he used some pretty bad words for Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings films. I'm not even talking about the Hobbits. I'm just talking about the Lord of the Rings films. Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Return of the King. Hated them. He thought they were a disgrace. But Christopher Tolkien died a couple of years ago. And now, as the article points out, and Peter Jackson mentions, it looks like the younger members of the family are more open to the ideas of returning. And while Grandpappy Christopher, I keep wanting to say, whenever I say Christopher, I want to say Nolan. Grandpappy Christopher Tolkien maybe did not reflect the same opinions and views and ideas that the younger members of the family have. And it sounds like they are much more open to doing this, which opens the door for Peter Jackson to come back. Now, listen, Peter Jackson, I mean, he's been noticeably absent from the director's chair for a very, very long time. The making of the Hobbit films was traumatic on him. He was never supposed to be the director of those. It's just that things got pushed so late that Guillermo del Toro finally had to leave. He couldn't put off his other obligations any longer, and it left them with no choice but for Peter Jackson to step and direct them. They split the movie into 3 instead of 1. I can understand The Hobbit being 2 films. I really think The Hobbit films would have worked much better as 2. I could totally see 2. But doing 3 was never a great idea. Never a great idea. And so in he comes, and he directs those that he was never planning on directing, and it nearly wrecked him. Nearly wrecked him. But he's always kept his hand in the Lord of the Rings universes, right? I'll say this. I still really consider the Silmarillion to be absolutely unfilmable. I still consider it to be unfilmable. But that being said, if there's anybody I would trust to even take a shot at it, giving him tons of time, not all of a sudden shotgun wedding at it like he was with the Hobbit films, but give him all the time in the world for him and Fran and his other partners, creative partners, to actually structure something that could work on film. If there's anybody I think could do it, it is, and it is only, Peter Jackson. That's it. He's the only guy. And I'm not even 100% sure that even he can do it, because again, if you don't know, man, if you've got some free time and laser focus, go try reading the Silmarillion. Number one, it's not an easy read. It's rich and it's glorious, but it's not an easy read, not a casual read. I mean, you got to be focused when you're reading that, and go read that and tell me how easily you think that could be filmed. It's not easy, man. I just don't think it can actually be done. But again, if there is anybody that could do it, it's this guy. It's this guy. The Lord of the Rings films, the original 3, again, take out the Hobbit movies. Take those out of it for a second. And you're right, Brad Jackson. It is not for those with ADHD. It is absolutely not a book for those. The Lord of the Rings films collectively, one could argue, might be the greatest films ever made. Now, to me, it's Star Wars. The original trilogy of Star Wars combined is the greatest film ever made. But when you go back and watch the Lord of the Rings films even today, it's jaw-dropping how good it is. because you even take it out of the fantasy element. I mean, just the drama of it, the character depth, the performances, the writing, like everything about these movies, so good. To the point that I contend, I've always said this, and some people argue with me, and that's fine. It's a subjective thing. But to me, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, when you factor in all of the individual disciplines that go into making a movie, costuming, makeup, writing, music, acting, cinematography, lighting, directing, producing, like when you just take all the many disciplines that go into making a movie, I don't know if there's ever been a better example than Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, which is why it was nominated for 11 Academy Awards and it won 11 Academy Awards, which still to this day, no movie ever in history has ever won more. And all that's because of Peter Jackson. And I believe all 3 films were nominated for Best Picture. The only other trilogy, correct me if I'm wrong in the live chat, correct me if I'm wrong. The only other trilogy to ever have all 3 films nominated for Best Picture, I believe, was The Godfather. I think The Godfather is the only one to ever do it. Now, if Dune 3 gets nominated for Best Picture, then we'll have 3 members of that club. But yeah, I think it's The Godfather, and I think it's Lord of the Rings. A nearly impossible book to film. Yes. A little too heady and ethereal to play out on screen. Yeah. But again, man, if there is anybody who would be able to do it, it's Elijah Wood. No, it's Peter Jackson. He's the guy to do it. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Peter Jackson is actually saying him and the Tolkien estate are now friendly again, and he's looking like sources like the Silmarillion may actually be back on the menu, boys. What do you think about this? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this. Well, I better hope I like it because I'm going to be going to see it like 5 times in the next week and a half. The Mandalorian and Grogu opens next week. And guess what? They just had the premiere for it, and the first reactions for The Mandalorian and Grogu are now out. And look, before I get into what the reactions are, just to summarize how I've felt about The Mandalorian and Grogu. I've never thought this was a good idea, right? Like if you guys have watched my show, you know I've been skeptical. I don't know why you make your first movie back on the big screen in 7 years a extension episode of a TV show. Not sure why you would do that. If like the only reason I would have any faith in it is because it's John Favreau. Right? I have tons of faith in John Favreau. He's the man. So I was never going to completely discount Mandalorian and Grogu, but I've just never understood why. And I didn't even think the initial trailers were all that great. Now, I've come around a little bit because at CinemaCon last month, they showed us the first 17 minutes of the movie. That's not a small portion size. They showed us the first 17 minutes of the movie. And it was actually pretty good. It was fun. It's not the most mind-blowing. It wasn't as good as the first 8 minutes of Dune 3, which are, oh God, guys, I cannot wait for you to see the opening of Dune 3. Blew my mind. Anyway, so nowhere near as good as that, but it looked much better than I thought it would, the first 17 minutes, and it felt like Star Wars. It did. It legitimately felt like Star Wars, and I can't say that about everything that's got the Star Wars name on it. So, skeptical, cautious optimism, but I must say I did like the first 17 minutes, and it's kind of elevated my hopes for it a little bit. Well, man, the reactions are in. For the most part, they are positive. But there's also a mixed element to it. Like, nobody's jumping around saying, this is the best Star Wars movie we've had in 30 years. Like, no one's saying that. But overall, it sounds pretty good, but there's also some mixed reaction too. Let's go over and take a look and see what some of the folks are saying. Let's start off with the wonderful Peter Soretta, the guy who created Slash Film. By the way, Peter and his partner, they also have another wonderful YouTube channel on like theme parks. It's just Peter and his partner going around visiting theme parks, like going to Universal, going to Disneyland, going to Disney World, going to Epcot, going all these places. It's a really fun channel. If you get a chance, you should go check it out. Anyway, this is what Peter had to say about it. He said, The Mandalorian and Grogu, the marketing had me worried, but this movie is actually a lot of fun. Yes, it does feel like a supersized, high-budget few episodes of the TV show, which has been one of my worries. More of an adventure of the week than a huge galactic event story. If you like the show, you'll love this. And listen, if you're somebody who is a big fan of Mandalorian and Grogu, I think that's exactly what you want to hear. Our friend Eric Davis from over at Fandango wrote, Star Wars is back on the big screen, and The Mandalorian and Grogu is a thrilling adventure full of big fights, gnarly creatures, and plenty of adorable Grogu moments. It's less about the lore and more about fun, freaky romp across the galaxy. I really dug that about it. And you know what? That sounds perfectly fine to me. Not every Star Wars movie has to be Empire Strikes Back. That sounds perfectly fine to me. Now, I will say, and I really like Eric, by the way, you got to I think you take Eric's comments with a grain of salt, because unless I've missed something, he primarily works for Fandango. Fandango's entire business is built on selling movie tickets. So you got to keep, so this is a review coming from a guy who works for a company that does nothing but sell movie tickets. But listen, Eric Davis has been in this business a long time. He is sharp as a tack. He's one of the best in the business. And you know what? The way he describes it, that sounds perfectly good to me. Sounds perfectly good to me. All right, let's move on to the next one here. Tom wrote, The Mandalorian and Grogu is thankfully a Star Wars adventure worthy of the big screen that offers plenty of galactic fun for the whole family. Favreau rightfully chooses to take this IP back to its Eastwood-esque space western roots. I like the sound of that, as he effectively expands this world. So that sounds good to me. Simon Thompson wrote, The Mandalorian and Grogu is a grin-inducing crowd pleaser that puts Star Wars back on the theatrical track. Director Jon Favreau is again a safe pair of hands that delivered a solid, thrilling, and engaging romp. A solid popcorn movie that is the summer blockbuster you're looking for. Again, no, it doesn't sound to me like anybody's saying, oh my God, this is movie of the year. Oh my God, Star Wars is back to its absolute glory. No, they're just basically saying, this is fun. This is a great galaxy-spanning adventure. It's a fun movie. I think the whole family's going to have a good time at it. If that's what it ends up being, I'll be happy. Anyway, let's see here. Next up, Hater Hunter writes, my spoiler-free reaction to Star Wars. A fun, action-packed, heartwarming return to the big screen for Star Wars that can only be led by a bounty hunter and his force-wielding kin, which may be my favorite time seeing a Star Wars movie on the big screen. Andrew Salazar wrote, The Mandalorian and Grogu, Ludwig Göransson's, of course, he's the guy who does the Mandalorian music. He's a multi-time Oscar winner. Never asleep at the wheel. His new themes and motifs are just as addicting as ever. If it wasn't already obvious, he is invaluable to the whole Mando universe, and absolutely he is. The wonderful Perry Nemiroff writes, The Mandalorian and Grogu, I am just defenseless against Grogu and the Anzellan droid smiths. Irresistibly cute and also a filmmaking feat I cannot get enough of. Road to the Hutt, not as much. The live action Hutts are a challenge to put off, a Gladiator Hutt even more so, and it shows. Then we'll move on to Bill Bria, who wrote, I like this, Mandalorian and Grogu, finally they made a Star Wars movie for me to despise. Some cute moments, can't save it from feeling terminally dull and offensively inoffensive. Feels like marathoning the blandest episodes of the show that are also totally inessential. A waste of time and potential. So a definitively negative reaction amongst the positive ones. Jermaine Lucier, who's been on our show before, writes, The Mandalorian and Grogu is, as expected, a longer, bigger episode of the show. It has one or two standout scenes, but it feels much more interested in developing the story of the new characters and locations with new creatures than the characters. Enjoyed some of it, left frustrated with the rest. That's unfortunate. Joseph Deckmeyer writes, I liked Star Wars Mandalorian and Grogu way more than I expected. The first half felt like what I thought it would be like, but I did not expect to love Road of the Hutt as much as I did. And seeing Grogu be the hero was great. Star Wars on the big screen just feels right. Jonathan Sim writes, Mandalorian and Grogu is one of the weakest Star Wars movies. An emotionless, predictable experience that doesn't push Din Djarin anywhere interesting, dull, unexciting. Dull is a word we've heard a couple of times. Unexciting fight scenes, just CGI monsters, action figures mashed together. A long, colorless made-for-TV movie. There you go. Courtney Howard said, The Mandalorian and Grogu is a ton of fun. A perfect summer movie. Action-packed with a lot of humor and heart. Not episodic. A fully cinematic journey. Grogu steals a show. See it on the biggest screen possible. Griffin Schiller writes, Mandalorian and Grogu is fine. An inoffensive, technically impressive spectacle that's kind of a snooze fest. Very much structured like an abridged season of the TV show, which unfortunately plays like watching the cuteness or the cutscenes of a Star Wars video game instead of playing one. So, listen, I'm going to tell you what. And there are more, but it's basically a lot along those lines. A lot of people are saying, hey, this is a fun adventure movie. And then a number of people saying, this is dull. This is one of the weaker Star Wars movies. Again, it clearly does skew to the positive, but I got to tell you, all these things I'm hearing from the reactions are about as good as I was hoping they would be. Well, I mean, look, obviously we hope it sounds like it's amazing, but if I'm being honest and realistic, these reviews and reactions are about as they're at the high end for where I expected it to come in, right? There was a low end I expected them to come in, and then there was a high end. And this is of the higher end. And I got to say this, having seen the first 17 minutes and reading all the reactions saying, hey, this is a lot of adventure, a lot of action. It's got some heart, got some humor, and it's fun. To me, that kind of puts it in line with Solo, a Star Wars story, which I still contend Solo is a really fun galactic adventure movie. It's a good sci-fi adventure movie. Is it a little bit outside of the fold of Star Wars? Yes. Is it one of the strongest Star Wars movies? Absolutely not. But I had a good time with Solo. Like I enjoyed it. I walked out of Solo the first time I saw it, having enjoyed myself. Not as good as it could have been, but it was enjoyable. It was fun. If Mandalorian and Grogu can deliver that same adventure, if Mandalorian and Grogu can deliver that same fun, and if it can avoid being what some other of the reactors said, being dull, or just feeling like the bad or poorest episodes of the TV show, then sign me up. Listen, if it can deliver that, I'm going to walk out of Mandalorian and Grogu happy. Just telling you, I'm just being honest. If it can deliver, I don't need this to be Empire Strikes Back. I don't need it to be as good as Return of the Jedi. I don't need it to be as good as Rogue One. But if you can take the best things about the Mandalorian show and just give me a good new adventure for Baby Yoda and Din to go on, and I walk out with a smile on my face, that's about as good as I could have hoped for. Because again, you guys know I've been plenty skeptical about Mandalorian and Grogu. I still don't even think it's a movie they should have made. I really don't. I really think the first return to the big screen for Star Wars should have been the upcoming Starfighter movie. That should have been their big return to the big screen. But no use crying over spilt milk. We're here now. It's coming out. And for the most part, it sounds like it's pretty good. But again, it's not getting rave reviews across the board. We'll see. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The reactions and reviews are now in for Mandalorian and Grogu, and for the most part, they're pretty solid, but there are also some mixed stuff in there as well. which frankly is right about where I kind of thought it would be. Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, guys, we're going to do a little something we haven't done in a while, which is I'm going to take some of your live comments and questions that you guys have sent in. Now, normally we haven't done that, but we haven't done an open mic all week because I suffered some major computer problems that have made it not possible for me to do live streaming from my computer. Today is the first day I've done it in a bit. And so, to kind of make up for that, we're going to take some questions you guys have sent in. So you guys have sent them in and we're going to go in and answer them now. And let's see what you guys have to talk about. All right, we're going to start off here with who's the first. I think it's Christopher Diaz. Christopher Diaz writes, have you seen Obsession yet? Very scary. I have not, but I am planning on it. That one's high on my list. I was going to try to get out to the movie last night, but unfortunately, Ann and I had some important things we had to deal with, and so I didn't have a chance to do that. I'm also not going to have a chance to do it tonight or tomorrow night. So Sunday, I'm hoping by Monday's show, I will have seen Obsession because I have been kind of fascinated with this movie ever since the first trailer came out, and I'm hearing really, really good things about it. So yeah, I'm going to get out and see it this weekend. All right. Thanks for that, man. Next up, Logan Stone sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, Logan. Appreciate that, man. He writes, hey, John and crew, given the success so far with The Devil Wears Prada 2 and the director not ruling out a third film, what do you think is more likely? We get a third Devil Wears Prada film or we get a limited series continuation? Thanks. Oh, no, they're not going to do a limited series. No. I mean, nobody's told me that, but my guess, and I'm only guessing, but my guess is no, they won't do a limited series. And listen, I don't think they ever planned on doing a third Devil Wears Prada. But my God, the film hasn't even been in theaters for 2 full weeks. And it's already made over $450 million. Remember, the whole entire global worldwide gross of the first one was 300. It's already passed the entire global gross of the first one. It's going to close. It's probably going to get to around $600+ million when it's all said and done. For a movie that didn't cost anything to make. Like, I think the grand total of the budget was $100 million. So they're already extremely profitable. Now, I saw The Devil Wears Prada 2, and it's pretty good. It's not as good as the first one, but it's still pretty good. And I love seeing Anne Hathaway and Meryl Streep on screen together. And Emily Blunt. I love Emily Blunt on there too. My guess is going to be they will do a third one. I think they're going to do a third one. But it won't be a limited series, I don't think. All right. Thank you, Logan, for sending that in. And thank you so much for like super chatting in that much. That's really generous of you, man. I appreciate that, dude. All right. Wildcat Karma writes, are you excited for the Social Reckoning in October? And how do you think Sony should market it? Guys. Okay. I was very interested in, the Social Reckoning, which is the spiritual successor to the Social Network, right? Very interested in it. Holy crap. They showed us this big presentation for it at CinemaCon. Guys. This looks better than the original. This looks better than the Social Network. And I love the Social Network. I think the Social Network's great. This movie looks better. I can't remember where they showed us like 10 minutes of stuff. And when they stopped, I'm like, no, keep playing more. It looks so good. How do you market it? I don't know. I don't know how you market this film in a way that's going to have this big, huge, like massive appeal. I just don't know. All I know is that it looks phenomenal. This is an Oscar contending film. And I cannot wait for you guys. I'm sure they're going to start pretty soon. I cannot wait for you guys to start seeing some of the stuff for it because it really looks great. I cannot wait for this movie. All right. Thanks for that, Wildcat. Next up, Jedediah writes, trailer for Wildwood from Leica, the people behind Coraline, Gets 100 plus million views via discussing film. Could this be a box office resurgence after Missing Link? Well, let's be honest. Laika was never a box office juggernaut. Like, they've made some really great films, but they've never been a box office juggernaut. So let's not talk about box office resurgence. But can this movie be really successful? It's being directed by Travis Knight, who is also directed Kubo and the Two Strings. He directed the best live action Transformers movie with Bumblebee. And he's, of course, directing the upcoming Masters of the Universe film. You know, I watched the trailer. That's a really, really good trailer. God, that looks like a beautiful movie. It really does. Visually, story, it looks absolutely beautiful. I honestly don't know how many people are going to go see it. Like, I think it'll like make more than $20 million opening weekend. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think we're looking at $100 million opening or anything. But all I know is this: I'm interested in it because I was very surprised by how beautiful it looked. It really did. All right. Next up, A. Marcellus sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, A. Marcellus. And A. Marcellus writes, how critical is Starfighter's success to Disney/Lucasfilm? If it fails, do they just power on through and continue with more movies in a new era, or get scared off and go back to nostalgia Skywalker stuff? They got to understand that the mess they are in is because they've done nothing but nostalgia bait with Star Wars lately. I mean, yes, they put out Andor, which is the single greatest Star Wars anything that's ever been made since the original trilogy. But it is time for them to move on. And they got to understand that they're starting to build something new. And when you're starting to build something new, it's very important to come out of the gate strong, but it's still just your first brick you're laying, right? What is more important, and I said this about Superman as well, I'll say it about this: it's okay if Starfighter flops. Sorry, if you think beyond a 7th grade level, you'll understand that it's okay, not ideal, but it's not terminal if Starfighter flops. What is important for the long-term success of Star Wars is that Starfighter is good. If Starfighter is good and you're in a franchise like Star Wars, which you're not thinking about for the next year or two, you're thinking about it for the next 10, 20, 30 years, then you know you got to rebuild the on-screen reputation of Star Wars. And if Starfighter is great, but doesn't pull in the money, that's okay, because Starfighter being great will help the next one make more money, and so on and so forth and so forth. Too many people think on a 7th grade level, and they think in terms of checkers instead of chess. And they think about, no, this is the next movie. Everything's about this next movie. It's got to make all the money. It's got to win all the Oscars. It's like, no. Take a breath. Think longer term. Think bigger picture. Now, where it becomes more of a problem for them is if Starfighter sucks. Because it doesn't do them any good for Starfighter to make $700 million if it sucks. Because now you've just damaged future movies. You've damaged the reputation of your brand. So I would say this. I think understanding that it's just the first movie they're doing, I think even if things go wrong, they just power through, right? Bad studios, like when Warner Brothers was owned by AT&T, bad studios like that react to every new thing that happens. That's not what a good studio does. The good studio develops a longer term plan, understand that there are going to be things that go wrong from time to time, but you believe in your vision, you believe in your plan, and you keep going until it's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that the overall plan just isn't working. But you don't just react to and by the way, I'll say it goes the opposite as well. Even if Starfighter becomes a $2 billion film and wins the Academy Award for Best Picture, don't let that change your plan. Just keep moving forward. If it's a disaster, keep moving forward with the plan. If it's better than you could have possibly imagined, don't start changing everything to make it more like Starfighter. Keep with the plan. And so, yeah, I think they'll just keep moving forward. If for some reason, and by the way, I think Starfighter is going to be great. I got a lot more faith in it than I have in Mandalorian and Grogu. I think it's going to be great. But if for some reason it goes wrong, I think you keep moving forward until it becomes clear that the overall plan doesn't work. Or as a Major K is saying, stay on target. 100%. Stay on target. All right. Next up. Thanks for that, A. Marcellus. Christopher Brickner writes, with the financial and critical success of Devil Wears Prada 2, I think it's safe to say that director David Frankel has fully recovered from the failure of his 2016 film Collateral Beauty. We'll see. I mean, again, Devil Wears Prada 2 was not as good as the first one. Still a pretty good movie. Pretty good movie, but not as good as his first one. I think the success of it speaks more to the popularity of the IP, of which he is part of the reason for. I don't know if this totally gets him out of director jail, but it will certainly help. Christopher, I think you're right about that. It will absolutely certainly help. All right. Barbaric Eric writes, hey, John, I'm in Vegas right now. I'm going to be heading to Vegas in about 5 days. I'm in Vegas right now and remembered you mentioning a buffet, but I can't remember the name. Also, is there any other spots you recommend? The absolute best buffet in Vegas. Don't listen to anybody who tells you it's at the Wynn. Don't listen to anybody who tells you at the Palms. The one at the Wynn's pretty good. The one at the Palms is pretty good. But beyond a shadow of a doubt, the best buffet in Vegas, and quite frankly, the best buffet I've ever been to in my life, is in Caesar's Palace. It's called Bacchanal, and it's amazing. It's expensive. Go hungry. Like, go to it while you're really hungry. Get your money's worth out of it. It's really expensive. Like, depending on the time of day you go, it can be up to like $85 a person. I think maybe even sometimes and some days it might even be more. But I'm going to tell you this, man. It is fabulous. Especially if you like seafood, because you'll eat $200 of crab legs. Like, I'm not a seafood guy, so I don't eat crab legs, but the whole buffet is absolutely remarkable. Apparently, Greg's been there too. Yeah, it is absolutely fabulous. So go once, save up, go once, and I guarantee you'll want to go back again the next time you go to Vegas. Again, it's unfortunate that it's so expensive, but this is one of those rare things where something is expensive, but you are absolutely getting your money's worth, because it is the highest quality of food, man. It's really good. I highly recommend it. All right. Next up, we've got John Redcorner writes, what happened to Will Smith post Bad Boys 4? He made a trash album that no one cared about, and now he can't get a film in theaters. Someone greenlight MIB5. Nobody wants MIB5. Or I Am Legend 2. I don't really think anybody wants I Am Legend 2 either. Maybe save his career. I think, and this is just me speculating, if they can make this Amazon film Supermax really good, look, what do I always say? Winning cures everything. Winning cures everything. Amazon may be feeling right now, this is my speculation, like I said earlier, that the general movie-going audience may not be ready to go back to see Will Smith yet. That maybe his image has not yet been rehabilitated enough that people are going to line up to go to a Will Smith movie. But winning cures everything. And so if this Supermax movie comes out on Prime Video, and if it's really well received and everybody likes it, winning cures everything. And I think then you'll see your next Will Smith movie be back in movie theaters, and then we'll get a better idea where things are. And again, let me reiterate, Will Smith has nobody to blame for this current circumstance than himself. He did this. He made his bed. He's got to sleep in it. He should be able to now move on from it now that he's paid a pretty big, heavy price. He should be able to move on for it, but that's up to the general public to decide if we want to go see his movies. Amazon may not feel right now like the general public is ready to go back, but if Supermax is great, and if he's great in it, again, winning cures everything. I think you'll see him back on the big screen soon. If it sucks, maybe not. So we'll see. All right. Thanks for that, John. All right. Kyle Ginder writes, John, have you heard of the TV series Heartland? Oh my God. Have you heard of the TV series Heartland? It was filmed in Canada and has 19 seasons. It's not my kind of show to watch, but my wife started watching it, and now I've been watching it. Heartland, here's why I know what Heartland is. Because whenever I go home, my dad is watching Heartland. Always frickin' Heartland. It's always what's on the TV. And I mock him. I make fun of him every single time. And started making fun of him too. And every time I mock him and make fun of him, it's like, oh, everything is so violent and everybody's getting like, oh, sex and violence. I'm like, yeah, because it's awesome. But yeah, my dad is like, oh, I just like have a good feel. Like, okay, Dad, okay. My dad, by the way, is the greatest man I know. He really is. But I mean, he's just always freaking watching Heartland. And I like watching like, oh my God, this is like a Hallmark movie of the week, except that it's episodic television and it's just all fluff, but whatever. It is what it is. So yes, I am very familiar with Heartland. All right. Next up, DL writes, they did it for Atomic Blonde. Oh yeah. That's another great example of, man, that movie could have been better, but holy crap. The action in Atomic Blonde was amazing. Absolutely amazing. Charlize Theron is so good in that. And you're right. They did that with the way, the philosophy they approached the action in Ballerina is you could tell watching Atomic Blonde, they had that same philosophy. You do it right. You do it with that proper philosophy. You could absolutely make it work on screen. I'm glad you brought that up. Atomic Blonde is a great example of that. All right. Next up, GB's Gamer View writes, boys question, do you think it's a plot hole for the fact that Ryan is the firstborn Soup, but then later they say Homelander is Soldier Boy's son? No, it's not a plot hole at all, because remember, Homelander did not come about by natural means, right? They used Soldier Boy's DNA to create Homelander. It wasn't a natural thing like Ryan was. Like Ryan is as a result of the more natural way of conception happening. So no, it's not. I could totally, like, if they said that Soldier Boy literally had sex with a woman and she got pregnant and Homelander was born, then yes, that would be a bit of a plot hole. But the way the show described it, it's a totally different set of circumstances. Ryan is the first naturally born Soup. So yeah, I don't think that's a plot hole. All right, next up. Oh, and that's it. That's all the guys. I turned off the super chats before we started here. So, and guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here, guys, and making this little show part of your day. Big special thank you to all you guys who watched live. I know there have been thousands of you guys in the live chat. Thank you so much for being here and joining me today. This has been a lot of fun as I have kind of muddled my way through doing the show all by myself. Maybe I should do this more often. Anyway, guys, I'll look forward to seeing all of you again next week. I will maybe try to do an open mic on Sunday because I have to get through some open mic questions that got sent in for the last open mic we were going to do. Unfortunately, that's when I discovered my computer was having big problems and we weren't able to do the show. And so I've got a big backlog of questions that you guys had sent in from open mic. I'm going to see if I can try to get to that on Sunday and get all those questions you guys have sent in. So maybe an open mic on Sunday. If not, definitely on Monday. All right, guys, that will do it for me. Thank you so much for being here, everybody. This has been a lot of fun. My name's John Campea. And until next time, my friends, bye-bye.